call Halal, Wahawad, La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles at Great Millstone, rule well, and who have taught us this knowledge. Honors and salutations to you, fellow laborers that's doing the work of truth and sincerity. Shalom to you, shalom to the few Akwaf that believe as well. Their brother Hardab come back at you with another lesson. And this is a video clip that came across my home screen. I found it very interesting as I was listening to the elder apostle Arabla video, origins of so-called white people. And it's funny that I stumbled across it. You know, it was just a spirit, man. So I decided to do a video on it, and Lord willing, this video was edifying. And one thing I remember him saying was he didn't expound upon it that much. He just touched on it. You know, like he said that, you know, in this society, being so-called white is the thing to be, and it's put as, you know, the color of the higher class, you know. And so my video is kind of like a lambacking video, if you will, a lambacking video of what, you know, he was going into. I want to expound upon that point he made, though. He said, like I said, he said that, you know, in the society, being so-called white is the thing to be. And I agree, because you look at so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you'll see them at times, they bleach their hair or dye their hair into blonde. They'll get blue contacts in their eyes, you know, and you know, that's the look of leprosy in the Bible, as I'm going to get, you know, in this lesson, you know. And he said another point too. He was like, I believe he said he seen a Jake going into the store, and this Jake was like really dark brown. He had smooth, nice skin, and he's absolutely right. That is the color of the heavens, and the color in reality to want to be or look like in complexion or pigment. Going back to you know, during the time of the Adamites, you know, when the Lord caused man to be made by Yahweh Shai and the elect angels, the Alahayim. We made man from the dust of the ground, which the ground is different shades of brown. And so let's get into this video. I'm gonna play a snippet, and then I'm gonna get into some precepts.
Because they were Irish, there was a lot of oppression, you know, because they immigrated over from Ireland. So I thought a lot about what that was like for them as Irish people, but I never thought about what it was like for them and when they became white.
Well, you can only be something if there's something else to negate it. So I guess we became white. I guess we're white because there's a bunch of other races to set us off.
So how did English people and German people get turned into white people?
Came to America.
By assimilation, by living, by living in the U.S. It's just the smorgasbord, you know.
I have no idea. I honestly have no idea.
Do you know how they got turned into British and Scotch people? How those people got turned into white people?
No.
Have you ever thought about that?
I'm not a history buff.
I think culture.
See, one thing about the real history of the so-called Irish and Scottish, and even the English, which goes back to Anglo-Saxons. When you know the history of the Dark Ages, you'll know that they was made by the Moors or Morenos. And I encourage anyone that don't know that history to look that up. The Dark Ages is when the Dark Natures ruled, in particular the so-called Negroes, which is the southern kingdom of Israel, Judah, Benjamin, Levi. They ruled in Europe. Now they were the real Anglo-Saxons, all right, which Anglo-Saxons mean angelic sons of Isaac, And Scottish itself means it comes from the Hebrew word shakaria, which means black or dark. All right, so Scottish means dark man or black man. And the word Scotland means dark land or black land. All right, just a little history on that, you know. But let's get into the scriptures. Now I'm gonna go to the book of Exodus, to the miracle that the Lord caused Moses to perform before Pharaoh. And the reason why it was a miracle is because of the skin change, the complexion. All right, which will be done before Pharaoh to show that the Most High is with Moses. All right, to show the Most High is showing His power through Moses. Exodus 4:1. I'm gonna read down. It says, "And Moses answered and said, But behold, they will not believe me nor hearken unto my voice, for they will say, The Lord Yahweh hath not appeared unto thee. And Yahweh said unto him, What is that in thine hand? And he said, A rod. And he said, Cast it on the ground. And he cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent. And Moses fled from before it." So this is the first miracle. The rod being turned to the serpent. Verse 4, it says, And the Lord Yahweh said unto Moses, Put forth thine hand and take it by the tail. And he put forth his hand and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand. That they may believe that Yahweh, power of their fathers, the power of Abraham, the power of Isaac, and the power of Jacob, hath appeared unto thee. Verse 6, and this is going to the second miracle, right? It says, And Yahweh said furthermore unto him, Put now thine hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom, And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. And he said, Put thine hand into thy bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom and plucked it out of his bosom. And behold, it was turned again as is of the flesh. Now, this is one of the main things that they leave out of movies. The word leprous itself, because usually when they say leprous, it usually say leprous, white as snow. Right? Now let's see how many hits we get for lepers. And then, knowing that there were as far as Moses and the Israelites were among the Egyptians, right? And the Egyptians were notably known for being very, very tall and then being super dark. And they remember that Moses lived under Pharaoh. All right, and then knowing the history and knowing who the Egyptians go back to, the Egyptians go back to Ham. All right, Mizraim or Martazarium, one of the sons of Ham. Let's get that real quick. The scriptures say, "Prove all things." Let's get Ham. Genesis chapter 10, verse 6. And the sons of Ham, Cush and Mizraim, and Put and Canaan. So these are Ham sons. He had 4 sons: Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Now, the word Ham itself, when you go on, click on it. Excuse me. The word there is Cham. If you read the Hebrew, it says Cham. That's a Cha and that's a Ma. Cham. It says hot. All right. Second son of Noah, father of Canaan, and of various peoples which were inhabitants of southern lands. In late usage, a collective name for Egyptians, which I just read to you that those are his sons in that same precept. All right. So these are the so-called Africans today. All right, the so-called Africans, as you will call them today, which that was put on them by Esau during the time that they were the Greeks. All right, Leo Scipio Africanus. All right, they named it after that man. He was an Edomite. All right, so and also it talks about the Sabians. Matter of fact, let's get that. The Sabians. The Sabians. Let's get that. Isaiah 45:14 says, "Thus said Yahweh, the labor of Egypt and merchandise of Ethiopia and of the Sabians, men of stature, shall come over unto thee, and they shall be thine." See, men of stature meaning they were super tall. Men of great stature, meaning they were super tall. The word Ethiopia, which that's another name for Cush. The word Ethiop itself means burnt face or black face. All right, this is how you know that the sons of Ham were dark people. That's the reason I'm going into that point, you know. Ethiop. Let's see what we get here. See, Ethiop. The word Ethiop. Now keep in mind, it has the word Negro. It says Ethiop, Ethiopian Negro, because the word Negro just simply means black. Negro, Niger, same thing. Ethiop means same thing, black or burnt face, means dark face. All right, so I don't even have to go no further. You see for yourself. Now they don't even have a definition for it, because they know. So we don't even have to go no further into that, because we see right there they showing you that it means a dark person. Hold on, it says Greek Ethiops says to burn face. All right, to burn face. Like I said, burnt face. There you go. So let's get back to the original topic at hand. Oh, Slakia. All right, the original topic at hand. I was on blue letter. Sorry. Showing you that Moses was dwelling among dark people, because why? He was dark himself. So for him to perform the miracle of being called, of his arm or his hand being turned leprous, right? Let's get leprous again. Leprous, right? As snow. What does it mean to be leprous as snow? All right, leprous. Wrong thing. Leprosy in itself, when you go to the law, let's go up a little bit. Here we go. Leviticus 13:42. And if there be in the bald head or bald forehead a white reddish sore, it is a leprosy sprung up in his bald head or his bald forehead. Then the priest shall look upon it, and behold, if the rising of the sore be white reddish in his bald head or in his bald forehead, as the leprosy appeared in the skin of the flesh, he is a leprous man. He is unclean. The priest shall pronounce him utterly unclean. His plague is in his head. Now, when you go on, hold on, let's get the word leprosy. Let's see what we get for leprosy. See if they're gonna tell the truth on this blue letter. Leprosy. Oh, okay, so some of it. The word there is Tazarath. So Tazarath. It says leprosy in people, malignant skin disease. So skin disease, right? When you look up skin disease, right? Let's let the web do it. We'll let the web do a search for us. See what the web come up with. Skin disease, right? So a skin disease. Now you notice a skin disease. Now you see so-called white images. All right, you see so-called white images, man. And this is precisely the point. All right, that is a skin disease. Like leprosy is a skin disease or a plague in itself to look like a so-called white person. And like I said, in this society, they make it like it's the thing to be. But in reality, especially in ancient times, to look like a so-called white person, man, you were man, you people were ready to get at you, man. That's why Cain was so fearful when the Lord put that mark upon him, which he turned them lepers. The mark of Cain was about him being turned leprous or leprosy, going from so-called dark, so-called black to so-called white. I'm sorry. That's why Cain was afraid when the Lord did that to him. When the Heavenly Father did that to him, he was afraid because he said that people would seek out to take his life. That's Genesis, the 4th chapter. Let me go down a little bit. All right, here we go. Genesis 4:14 says, "Behold, thou hast driven me." Let's go. Hold on, Shalaki. Let's go up a little bit. Genesis 4:12, and this is for Cain killing Abel. Genesis 4:12. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto Yahweh, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. You know why? Because he looked different. If everybody's on the earth super dark, but now he's leprous now. He's a leprous man, being cursed by the Heavenly Father. That's the reason why he was, feeling dreadful. Man, look at me. You turned me into a white man. They're gonna kill me. This is how Cain was feeling. You see? This is why, and the elder Apostle Ramla made that great point in this lesson when I was listening to it on the job as I was traveling down the road about Miriam. Let's go to that, man. That's a great point. I bring that out a lot because when I do lessons on this subject matter, it's a very important subject matter. Because, this is a very important precept involved in this subject matter because the reaction that Aaron got when the Lord turned Miriam into a white woman shows you that that's not a good look. Even though Esau demonized the so-called black people for looking, dark as they do. And that's why a lot of Latin tribes, so it was a point in time the Latin tribes, they knew that looking light like Esau was a bad thing. They wanted to look dark. They knew looking dark is a good way to look. All right, but now you see a lot of them, even a lot of Jakes in the land of Ham, which you call Africa today, they bleach their skin to try to look like, Esau. Which they going off, man. They're crazy. They out of their minds. All right. So-called black skin is the most beautiful skin that was ever created, because that was the first created man, so-called black man. All right. Numbers 12. Now I'll get into the reaction of Miriam being turned to lepers, right? Numbers 12:7. This is what the Most High says to Miriam and Aaron. It says, my servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches. And the similitude of Yahweh shall he behold. Wherefore then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? And the anger of Yahweh was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. So, you know, I see a lot of so-called white women, you know, they flaunt with their nose in the air, you know, proud like the eagle, like they own, you know, like their husbands or men. They're a bunch of people of pride, you know. And when you go in the scriptures, a so-called white woman is it's a shame to look like her for a woman, and even for a man. More importantly, either one. All right. I just made the point because it's talking about Miriam. All right. It says, and the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said unto Moses, alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Like earlier, I was going into Leviticus, the 13th chapter, right? Going into leprosy, right? That whole chapter is for Israelites to identify what it is leprosy, what is a leprous man or woman. Leviticus, the 13th chapter. I could have read the whole chapter, even though I'm not, you know. But I encourage you on your own to read that whole chapter. It's all geared towards leprosy for the most part, for you to identify it. The word Leviticus means law. So, and what Aaron is saying is to look leprous, white as snow, like a white person, is a sin. All right, it's a sin. Because he said, lay not the sin upon us. Remember, nothing happened to Aaron at this moment. Only something happened to Miriam, and that's when she was turned into a white woman. All right, verse 11, it says, and Aaron said to Moses, alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed when he cometh out of his mother's womb. So that was a great point that Apostle Arab made in that video too, you know, because we don't take our full color to, you know, days or weeks after, you know. In my case, you know, I told the story a couple times, maybe twice. But my mother is from the Southern Kingdom. My father is a Reubenite, and my father, being a Reubenite, even though he's a solid brown Reubenite, I came out. My mother was actually lighter than my father, but I came out, and I was a light-skinned boy till I was like almost a year and a half old. I was just light brown, like King David, and I just all of a sudden took very dark pigment. All right, and I went from looking like a Latin tribe to looking like a Southern Kingdom in complexion. Then I kind of, you know, fluctuated in complexion a little bit throughout my life. I went from, you know, like light brown to solid brown. And then some summers I would be out in the sun playing and I would get super dark. All right. But the point is, you do be half consumed coming out of your mother's womb, meaning you don't take your full pigment. All right. But this you know, this way of looking like a so-called white person it's not the thing to be, you know. Even the hair, the yellow thin hair is not a good thing to be. All right. It just, in this society, Esau is in rulership, and so Esau is the standard of how to look according to what he puts out as far as his propaganda into the world. And this is the reason why a lot of Israelites try and bleach their skin and even dye their hair blonde and get those blue icy blue contacts in their eyes. You know, but I don't understand it. I don't get it. But, you know, that's what they do. All right. But in reality, looking dark is a thing to be. That's why King Solomon made the comment he made when describing himself. All right. Song of Solomon, chapter 1, chapter 1, verse 5, it says, I am black. But first of all, you can't get no... Black don't come from white. So-called black genes or genetics is superior than so-called white genetics. And that's proven over and over again. You cannot get a so-called black person from a so-called white person. But there were, being that you have Esau, right? Parents being dark, Isaac and Rebecca. And he came out what? So-called white man. Even though his parents were brown pigment people. And so was his brother Jacob. But here it is, he came out because of no brown pigmentation. He was, well, the blood shined forth through his skin was translucent, so he looked red. So they say he looked red all over like a hairy garment. All right. when you're a light brown, and you sometimes you can look a little reddish. Like what we call red bone. Among Jake we call them light skinned Jakes or light skinned Israelites, we call them red bones. Okay? You can see it look a little red-ish. Alright. Let me continue on though. It says, I am black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. And Ishmael had a son named Kedar, which that word would be Quadar, which means dark skin, to be darkened. Look not upon me, because I am black, because the sun had looked upon me. Yeah, the sun make us darker. Now, if Solomon was basically super, he telling you he's super dark. All right, a rich, dark, chocolate-looking skin. If he looked that way, how the hell can how can two so-called white people have a baby that fucking dark? If the so-called Jews, according to today's theologians and wacky-tacky Christians, how can if the Jews were so-called white people, how can they have a so-called black baby? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense at all. Doesn't make sense at all. We know that King David came from Judah, and we know that Judah is black unto the ground, according to Jeremiah the 14th chapter and the 2nd verse, showing you that what David was a so-called black man, even though he was on the lighter brown side, being ruddy. And I heard Elder Apostle Ramlab going to that point. All right. See how, I mentioned earlier in this video how the Irish and the Anglo-Saxons and Scottish, how they became so-called white is because of so-called whitewashing, trying to wipe them out. See? Because the old Viking, even the Viking history go back to the Dark Ages. You see? But looking so-called black, that's the way to look. I always say that, hey, if I could be super dark, I would, as far as in complexion, if I can get the dark as I can, I love it. Because you know why? I love being in my skin. Never ever have I felt the need to want to look white or want to be so-called white. And more importantly, I'm happy that the Lord, gave me this knowledge to understand that, that we're His, chosen beloved people, and not only that, He's a so-called black man Himself, and even His only begotten Son, Yahushua. All right. And in the kingdom of heaven, all the Israelites that may look like so-called white people and other nations of people, they're going to have their complexion back. All right? Even though you have Israelites that look like so-called white people, but their lineage goes back to us, the Israelites, man. All right? So, with that, I pray that this lesson was edifying. Until next time, I want to say to you, Akim and Akwaf, Shalom.